There's a building in Manhattan where more wealth is managed than the GDP of most countries, but you'll never see it on any billionaire list. Welcome to the world of family offices. Right now, while you work for your paycheck, there are over 5,000 private companies in America that exist for one reason only: to make rich people richer. Not investment firms, not hedge funds. Something far more powerful. These are personal wealth empires, disguised as boring corporations, and they've perfected something extraordinary. The art of paying almost nothing in taxes while multiplying billions across generations. Let me show you how it actually works. Imagine you just sold your tech company for $3 billion. Congratulations. The government now wants $1.2 billion of it. Unacceptable. So instead, you do what every billionaire does. You call a very specific type of lawyer. Within 60 days, they create something called a single-family office. It looks like a company, acts like a company, but exists purely to serve you. This isn't a financial advisor managing your portfolio. This is 30 to 40 full-time employees whose only job is protecting your wealth. Investment managers, tax attorneys, real estate experts, political consultants, private security, personal assistants, even art acquisition specialists, all working in complete secrecy. Because here's the thing about family offices: they're not required to register with the SEC. They operate in total darkness. The Walton family has one. The Mars family has one. George Soros, Michael Bloomberg, Bezos, Zuckerberg, every name you know. But let's talk about one you probably don't. Cascade Investment. Bill Gates' private family office manages over $100 billion. 100 billion. They own the Four Seasons hotel chain, hundreds of thousands of acres of farmland, stakes in Deere and Company, Canadian National Railway. And here's what's insane: Cascade employs only about 100 people. That's $1 billion per employee. But how does this help avoid taxes? Let me introduce you to something called layered entity structures, the invisible fortress around billionaire wealth. Here's the basic play. You don't own anything directly, ever. Instead, your family office creates an LLC in Delaware. That LLC owns a trust in South Dakota. That trust owns a holding company in Wyoming. That holding company owns your $50 million mansion in Aspen. Same structure for your yacht, your private jet, your art collection, your stock portfolio. Everything hidden behind legal entities within legal entities. Why does this matter? Because corporations have very different tax rules than humans do. Let's say you want to buy a private island. Cost $40 million. If you buy it yourself, that's after-tax money. You actually need to earn $60 million to afford it. But your family office, it creates a real estate investment LLC. That entity buys the island. Now every expense associated with that island becomes a business deduction. Maintenance, staff, upgrades, property taxes. Even better, you can borrow against it without triggering any taxable event. This is called the buy, borrow, die strategy, and it's completely legal. Step 1. Buy assets through your entities. Stocks, real estate, companies. Step 2. Never sell them, because selling creates capital gains taxes. Instead, borrow against them. Banks will loan you hundreds of millions at 2% interest using your assets as collateral. You live off borrowed money, which isn't taxed because it's debt, not income. Then you die. Step 3. Die. But here's where it gets beautiful. When you pass away, your heirs inherit everything at what's called a stepped-up basis, meaning all those gains, all that appreciation disappears for tax purposes. Your children get billions. The government gets nothing. ProPublica analyzed the taxes of the 25 richest Americans. Between 2014 and 2018, their wealth grew by $401 billion. They paid $13 billion in taxes. That's a 3% tax rate. You probably pay more than that. But wait, there's more. Something called a dynasty trust. South Dakota, Nevada, Alaska. These states changed their laws to allow trusts that can last forever. Not 20 years, not 99 years, forever. You put $1 billion into one of these trusts. It's managed by your family office. The wealth grows tax-free across generations. Your kids benefit, their kids benefit, their kids' kids benefit. For centuries, the Rockefeller family is now in its 7th generation of wealth, still going strong. How? A family office established in 1982, managing dynastic trusts created decades before that. But these offices don't just hide money. They multiply it in ways normal investors can't access. Ever heard of co-investment opportunities? Private equity firms offer their best deals to family offices before anyone else. Why? Because family offices can write $50 million checks with one phone call. No committees, no approval process. The Pritzker family office invested early in Spotify, Tesla, Uber, before they went public. Returns? Often 20 to 50 times their money. You'll never get that opportunity. Your mutual fund won't either. Then there's the real estate game. This is where it gets really creative. A family office doesn't just buy properties. It creates opportunity zone funds, real estate investment trusts, Delaware statutory trusts. Here's an example. You have a $100 million capital gain from selling stock. Normally, 23.8% goes to taxes. Instead, you invest that gain into a qualified opportunity zone, a designated low-income area. Now your tax on that gain is deferred. If you hold it for 10 years, a portion is eliminated entirely. Oh, and the new real estate you bought, it appreciates. When you eventually sell it, that profit is completely tax-free. The government literally incentivized billionaires to pay no taxes on certain investments. Let's talk about one of the most sophisticated family offices in existence. Bezos Expeditions. Jeff Bezos' office doesn't just manage his wealth, it operates like a private intelligence agency. They analyze geopolitical trends, map out multi-decade investment strategies, fund experimental companies in biotech and space exploration. They've invested in Google, Airbnb, and dozens of unicorn startups you've never heard of yet. His family office predicted the rise of cloud computing, autonomous vehicles, and personalized medicine years before the market caught on. That's not investing, that's wealth engineering. And then there's the political angle, something most people never consider. Family offices don't just manage money, they manage influence. They fund think tanks that write policy papers. Those papers influence legislation. That legislation creates tax loopholes. Those loopholes save them hundreds of millions. It's a closed-loop system. The carried interest loophole, which lets private equity billionaires pay 15% instead of 37%. That didn't happen by accident. Family offices funded the politicians who protected it. Now let's discuss something called private placement life insurance. This one's diabolical. Wealthy families buy enormous life insurance policies. We're talking $100 million policies through offshore insurance companies they control. Inside these policies, they invest in hedge funds, private equity, high-risk, high-return assets. All the gains grow completely tax-free because it's inside a life insurance wrapper. When they need cash, they borrow against the policy. Tax-free loans. Again, this strategy is so effective that Congress tried to shut it down. But the insurance lobby, funded by family offices, blocked every attempt. Here's something that'll blow your mind. Art storage facilities. Delaware has massive warehouses filled with billions in artwork. Picassos, Warhols, Basquiat pieces. But nobody looks at them. They sit in climate-controlled vaults. Why? Because art doesn't generate taxable income. It appreciates tax-free. And if you donate it later, massive tax deductions. A family office buys a painting for $10 million, waits 15 years. It's now worth $80 million. They donate it to a museum, get an $80 million tax deduction. The museum displays it for 3 months, then stores it. Everybody wins, except the tax system. Let's zoom out for a second. Why does this matter to you? Because every dollar they don't pay is a dollar that shifts to someone else. When billionaires pay 3% effective tax rates, Middle-class rates stay high. Public services get underfunded. Infrastructure crumbles. The family office economy is essentially private government for the ultra-wealthy. They have their own healthcare systems, private security forces, educational networks, even separate legal systems for all practical purposes. And it's accelerating. In 2005, there were roughly 1,000 family offices globally. Today, over 10,000, managing more than $6 trillion. That's larger than the GDP of every country except the US and China. But here's what really keeps this system running: complexity. The average family office structure involves 40 to 60 different legal entities, spread across 8 to 12 jurisdictions. It's designed to be incomprehensible to anyone who isn't a tax attorney or forensic accountant. Even the IRS struggles to audit these structures. They're too complex, too expensive, too time-consuming, so most never get examined. The Sackler family, who made billions from OxyContin, their family office moved money through trusts in 18 different states and countries. Prosecutors spent years trying to track it. Much of it still hasn't been recovered. Now, not every family office is villainous. Some do remarkable philanthropic work. The Emerson Collective, Laurene Powell Jobs' office, funding education reform, immigration advocacy, environmental causes. But even the most charitable offices use the same tax avoidance structures. They just donate more of what they save. So what's the solution? Is there one? Some countries have started requiring family office transparency, beneficial ownership registries, public tax return filings. In the US? Not yet. The American Families Plan proposed taxing unrealized capital gains at death, closing the stepped-up basis loophole. It didn't pass. Because here's the ultimate truth: family offices aren't just managing wealth. They're managing the system itself. They employ the people who write tax code, fund the campaigns of people who vote on tax code, and hire the accountants who find loopholes in tax code. It's a perfect machine, and it's largely invisible. Most Americans have no idea family offices exist. That's by design. Because the greatest asset isn't money, it's obscurity. The less you know about how their wealth works, the less likely you are to demand change. So here we are, in a country where 5,000 private companies manage more wealth than the bottom half of Americans combined, where dynasties can last forever, where tax rates are optional if you can afford the right structure. This is the real economy, the one behind the one you